Welcome back here to the show, and in the third segment of today's episode, thanks again to Kenneth and Emran for joining me for those first two segments, but we're back again here ranking some more position groups across the NFL, this time focusing in on the running backs. I've done quarterbacks, wide receiver groups, or just receiving groups, and now we'll focus in on the running backs, starting again the cycle with the NFC North. A lot of good tandems and some triple groups here with the running back situation. So without further ado, I will start with the fourth ranked team on my list. I have the Minnesota Vikings as the fourth best team running back wise in this division. Not three running backs available to them. They only really have two of them. It is interesting just with Kevin O'Connell and this team, with all the weapons that they have, the majority of them, if you were to rank them, would probably be Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, and then you would get to the running backs. And I guess maybe a quarterback also in there depending on who it is. But then you get to the running backs is my point. They're probably towards the end of ranking these skill position groups. And that's not really what you'd love to see, obviously. And it is weird enough because they did get better, I believe, in terms of their number one running back. Last year they had Alexander Mattison as their lead back, and he didn't do great for them overall. He didn't score a rushing touchdown at all throughout the entire season, and as a team, they only managed 7 rushing touchdowns from the entirety of the group. And then just also as a whole, statistics-wise, they were 29th in rushing yards per game at 91, and also 29th in the NFL as well in total yards rushing in the year at only 1,553 total yards rushing in the entire year last year. To give you guys a little bit of context, Christian McCaffrey, the offensive player of the year, the running back, I guess, of the year per se, he recorded 1,459 rushing yards just himself. And as a team, he almost outrushed the entirety of the Minnesota Vikings. So you can't have that, obviously. Now, you get Aaron Jones in there. I like him as an upgrade over Alexander Mattison, but the depth is really an issue for me in this division as well, where it's going to get pretty competitive, and if you are able to control the game and control the pace of everything, it would benefit you more often than not. But Ty Chandler is really the best other option that they have, and he, is sort of getting his feet wet a little bit more in the NFL. Last year, he was able not to produce the craziest numbers, similarly to Alexander Mattison, I think around 600 to 500 yards. So you need him to sort of spot Aaron Jones because he is also coming off a year where he took a lot of time off of the field because of that knee injury and his hamstring as well. So if you could get some more production out of him, I would like it a little bit more, but they don't have too many, and it's still an uncertainty with what you have with Ty Chandler. You can't rely too much on Aaron Jones, other than also the NFL is sort of getting away from just one running back. Most of them are going to a tandem at least. So with that being said, they do fall as the fourth ranked team in my power rankings. Then moving on to the third team I have here in the NFC North, the Chicago Bears. Similarly to the Vikings, only two guys that really stand out to them, but they have just simply produced better without a top-tier running back last season. Their best rusher last year in terms of yards was Justin Fields, their quarterback, and Khalil Herbert was there as well, but now he sort of takes a little bit of a back seat there with DeAndre Swift coming in there after recording his first 1,000-yard season last season for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now he moves on in free agency to join the Bears, and I really like that move because I think now with DeAndre Swift sort of dealing with injuries in his first couple of years, I think it was, he played no more than 14 games in his first couple of years. Then this past season, he played the most of his entire career in 16. This is the sort of production you can expect from him, and it is odd that last season, like I mentioned, the Bears didn't really have a number one top-tier running back, at least to sort of divert the carries a little bit there with somebody else. But as a team, they managed to still rank number 2 in the NFL in total rushing yards and yards per game in the entire NFL as well. To give some context behind that, the Baltimore Ravens were number 1 in total rushing yards and in yards per game, and then the 49ers were number 3 in both of those categories as well. And the Chicago Bears were right up there with two teams that made it to the conference championships, and one of them made it to the Super Bowl. So that's really the recipe you'd want to follow. The Bears have everything else, it seems, that they need to have a great rushing attack, and now I think they definitely got better by bringing in DeAndre Swift to continue on that season that he had with the Eagles. I have confidence in him to do that, and also now, Khalil Herbert, you'd hope to get a little bit more than 611 yards and only 2 touchdowns. Maybe having another guy there does help him bring his production up a little bit, but the passing game and the amount of talent that they just managed to bring in free agency and through the draft with a franchise generational quarterback, you bring in Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, you already had DJ Moore. This team is looking as well balanced as anybody in this division, but just on running backs, I'd like to see more. I'd like them to be a little healthy, so that's why they fall to number 3 in my rankings, which means out of the last 2 teams left, I have the Green Bay Packers as the second best running back group in this division. Compared to the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears, they actually have 3 solid options, as you guys see there on your screen. Josh Jacobs to your left, A.J. Dillon in the middle, and Marshawn Lloyd there, the rookie out of USC, as well, coming into the league, playing in his first season this year with the Green Bay Packers. And, a rookie, why did I include him in there? Maybe not a lot of rookies get the chance to play, especially when you got these 2 guys there to his left on the screen. But it is interesting with Marshawn Lloyd because I personally didn't know too much about him heading into this year, but I heard the Packers offensive coordinator talking about it a little bit more, and with Josh Jacobs, he mentioned that he would like to see him be the guy, the first option guy for this team because of how talented he is, multiple 1,000-yard seasons. And last year, he was banged up a little bit, but still recorded a very solid season. I think, again, another 1,000-yard season for Josh Jacobs. So he can sort of give you a little bit of that Aaron Jones aspect. I think they're probably on the same tier in terms of level, skill set, and how people would rank them across the NFL. So you have that. You don't really lose too much there with moving on from Aaron Jones. And then A.J. Dillon, he knows the system. He knows what his role is really coming in there as a change of pace guy, being more power to Josh Jacobs, potential more finesse, more of an all-around well-balanced guy in Josh Jacobs. You have A.J. Dillon there to come in, short yardage situations, get the Packers the hard-earned runs there. Because of how he's built, he is just a truck really out there for the Green Bay Packers to have there as a weapon. And then you bring in Marshawn Lloyd, who you'd hope to see transition very smoothly into the NFL, but it might take a little bit of time, which, again, benefits you having Josh Jacobs and A.J. Dillon there, 2 seasoned veterans. And now Marshawn Lloyd, at his peak in his rookie year, I think he could be exactly like the Packers offensive coordinator described, a change of pace, very fast guy there. Out of USC, coming into his first year in the NFL. That is something that maybe Josh Jacobs can't really give you too much, just that raw, blazing speed out of the backfield, that quick twitch, reaction, agility that not a lot of guys can produce in short areas of space on the field. So he's that sort of running back for them. A little bit like Jahmyr Gibbs, to kind of give you guys my best comparison to him. If they could get the best out of all 3 of these guys, and maybe it might not show up in the stat sheet as one guy having 1,000 yards, but if all of them can sort of get, Josh Jacobs close to 1,000, A.J. Dillon chipping in with another 500 at least, Marshawn Lloyd again around the same amount, maybe more, I think that's a very solid group that you have there in Green Bay. You don't need one guy to just carry the ball over 130 times in a season, because that really doesn't lead to success later in the season. If you want to get there like most teams do, keeping all these guys fresh, I think, benefits the Packers more because they have more guys, and I think they are very well suited to compete with this running back group to lead them into 2024. But they aren't my number 1 ranked team. That falls to the Detroit Lions because, unlike the rest of them, I think the Lions want to run the ball first and foremost. I think they want to beat you up and punch you in the face with that offensive line. Very nasty group, very big group, and just they move as one. They are one of the most cohesive units in the NFL, and last year you had David Montgomery, who I think people had their doubts around him. How would he look there trying to be that lead back in Detroit? But he recorded 1,000 yards for himself, and Jahmyr Gibbs in his first year recorded 945 yards as a rookie, 13 touchdowns for David Montgomery, and 13 touchdowns for Jahmyr Gibbs as well. They are a run-first team, almost like the Chicago Bears a little bit, but I think they've gotten more production, and they're just a little bit more experienced there. I think their offensive line is also just a little bit better than the Chicago Bears. They were also ranked in the top 5 for a lot of categories. 5th as a team in total yards, over 2,000 or over 2,300. 5th in yards per game, rushing 135.9 rushing yards per game. So this offensive line, they were able to bring most, if not all of them, back for this year. And you bring these two guys back as well. David Montgomery now getting better in his second year here. And Jahmyr Gibbs, who I expect a big jump out of him this season for the Detroit Lions. And also they mentioned of the possibility that he could be playing a little bit more slot receiver, trying him out there because of his quick agility and just the versatility that he brings also to add to this running back group and just the offense as a whole. That's another reason why I have them as the number 1 ranked team running backs wise, because they could just do almost everything that you would love to see out of your running back group. They're the most well-versed. They made it the furthest, so they have that under their belt. I think they're a run-first team, and that'll be what really their identity will be in 2024 again. And if they're able to produce anywhere near the level that they did last year, pretty much bringing everyone back, I think they're definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with in not just the NFC North, but also in the entirety of the NFC. Now with the Cowboys sort of teetering a little bit, the 49ers probably still being the 49ers most likely, you could see the Detroit Lions being right up there with them. They could have beat them in that NFC Championship game. They took their best shot at them, but then in the second half they sort of fell off, and that's where the inexperience kicked in. But bringing that experience back, having this running back group and the offensive line, like I mentioned, I think they could really compete with anybody in the NFC and pretty much probably in the NFL with the level of experience that they've gained. These two guys are going to be at the forefront of a lot of their success, so I'm excited to see it. But that is my list. Let me know what you guys think about it now that we're starting the running back ranking trend here on the show. Leave your guys' comments or reactions in the live chat box or also in the comments section after this video live show goes off of the air. But we will be right back in just a few seconds. We're going to take one more break here, and when we return, we got one more segment on today's show for you guys. We're going to be talking about the Eagles, sticking in the NFC, about Brandon Graham specifically, talking about the coordinators that they had in place last year for their defensive coordinator and their offensive coordinator, what the biggest difference are this year, and how much better it might feel for the Eagles to have more experienced guys there in those positions. Stick around to find out more on what he said. You're listening to the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast.